Pakistan cricket at its best. 1 minute down, next minute up.
Thank you very much, everybody, for joining me on what has been a pretty desperate day for Pakistan cricket. I'm joined today by a former Pakistan fielding coach. He's worked for a number of cricket boards around the world. He's a familiar face for PakPassion viewers. And he's somebody who's out there in USA at the moment. He's quite familiar with the American cricket scene. He's been working in the baseball industry, baseball profession for a number of years now. And he's out there in Texas, where Pakistan lost to the USA. One and only Julien Fountain. Julien, very warm welcome to you.
Well, thanks again, Serge. And, thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Certainly didn't expect to hear Pakistan versus USA in Texas, but hey, here we are. It's awesome.
I should have started with something like howdy, shouldn't I, Julien?
Yeah, you should see all the hats. You saw all the boys wearing the hats. That's mandatory. I should have worn my hat for you.
I haven't got one, Julien. Otherwise, I would have worn it. But it seems like the Pakistani boys are out there to do a bit of modelling with those nice hats, and the cricket seems to be a secondary interest at the moment.
Well, I mean, yeah, looking at today's performance, maybe a little too much time spent putting on hats and stuff, but hey, it is what it is. They're in Texas.
Let's start with the USA, Julien. You're obviously familiar with the cricketing scene out in America. They looked very, very competitive today against Pakistan, and they beat Canada, sitting pretty at the top of the table. They've obviously put in a lot of money into cricket in America.
Yeah, I mean the guys, the guys work very hard. The player pool that represent the US, they're all freelance cricketers. They all play in a lot of leagues. They all do a lot of traveling. There is, as you said, there's a good mix of sort of youth and experience there. Those guys, they work hard, and today you could see, I mean, the Canada game as well. You could see the effort, which is from a coaching perspective, that's all you can ask for. When they get on the big stage, just put everything out there on the field. And today's result was pretty much a symptom of that. They just, they realized it was a massive game, and realistically they had nothing to lose, so they just put it all on the field, and yeah, we snuck over the line.
When you bring in the likes of Stuart as your coach, you mean business, don't you? Because he's well travelled, he's a fantastic former player, he's an experienced coach as well.
Yeah, I mean the US cricket organizations they've had a track record of bringing in, famous celebrity coaches, big name coaches. It does depend. I mean, he's very new into the position, so I mean, happy days. They're on a great streak at the moment. Where he's going to face some challenges is the structure. That is because you're only as good. He can only do as much as he can do. So he can only operate at his standards when he's allowed to do so. So I guess all we would ask is that the cricket board support him, and the cricket public support him in what he's trying to do.
The interesting aspect for me, and probably many other followers of cricket, is that can the American population, the locals, so to speak, take an interest in cricket when they are competing against the likes of baseball, American football, soccer, and various other sports as well?
That is the big question, and let's look at it realistically. The primary sports in this country have a lot of money, and they're pretty well established. They've been around a long time. They have great infrastructure. The youth systems are good. So you've got great level school staff. You've got top level college sports, and then obviously that naturally generates really high performance at the professional athlete level. we in cricket, we're not there. We're not anywhere near there yet in terms of infrastructure, in terms of governance, in terms of, just the whole process of taking young players up through a system and, catapulting them into a high performance environment. What you see at the moment is you see a lot of guys, the American cricket team is picked from our elite player pool who all play club cricket in this country. A lot, if not most of them, play in professional tournaments overseas as well as here. We need to get our system better. Our system is still completely haphazard and chaotic. And, it may be a controversial topic, but cricket in this country is a niche sport because it's being kept a niche sport. The South Asian community has kept it very much a South Asian game. And just, mainstream America hasn't bothered to get involved because they haven't really been interested, because they don't see the quality of product. And that, if you've got training facilities, fields that aren't great, which up until just recently, that's basically what you've got over here is second-rate stuff. You're challenging a mainstream sports system where facilities are excellent. So, people aren't going to go to places that aren't good. Now that's changing. I mean, obviously you saw Prairie View. I was up at Prairie View last Grand Prairie, sorry. I was up there last year, and it's an amazing place. I mean, it's a really nice stadium. If you ever get a chance, it is beautiful. It's super nice. So that's a start, but we have to not only produce more and better facilities, we've got to get our structures, our programs, and our pathways better and more inclusive to mainstream America. I mean, the South Asian population, which is where the cricket comes from in this country, is less than 3%. It's about 2.7% of the country. So you're choosing your professional and elite athletes from a tiny fraction of the sports playing population. So, until we can put it in front of mainstream people, which obviously this World Cup is having, mainstream people are now talking about cricket, which is fantastic. You'll see cricket mentioned on the mainstream sports, mainstream news. The World Cup is definitely going to boost our cricket in this country. But, you've got to accept that mainstream people want to see success before they commit to actually being a part of it. I'll give you the example, soccer, football. Football took a long time to become popular here in the US. And the catalyst was the national teams. People had no idea about soccer, even though they brought over very famous football players to play in pro leagues. Nobody cared. Soon as the USA national team, men and women, as soon as they started winning games and really getting some success, that's what Americans love. Americans like to see Americans doing well, and then they go, yeah, we'll get behind this.
I suppose beating Pakistan and being top of the league at the moment, I mean, we don't know how well USA are going to do in the remaining games, but I mean, this win against Pakistan could be huge for American cricket.
Oh, no doubt. No, I mean, this is the kind of thing that needs to happen for USA cricket to move forward and to gain more exposure and just get better as a system. I mean, today's game was massive, and it was great to see the amount of effort that was put in by the team. They did super well. Really, really impressive.
Julian, you're in that Pakistan dressing room once again, and you've just lost to USA. After kicking a few backsides, what do you say to the boys?
Well, I mean, okay, game's done. Didn't go our way. You got to be brutal and analyze. And I know people sometimes don't like to analyze stuff, but unless you analyze the smaller areas, it's tough to move forward. So I think in the post game, Baba talked about a slow, a slow run rate, which again, it does happen, but maybe, just maybe, because it was the USA, they thought that that run rate was just fine. As it was, it turned out it wasn't. So maybe there was a slight lack of urgency in that respect. I mean, I've just looked at the two scorecards and extras. You can't give away that many extras for it not to come back and haunt you. So you've got to reduce extras. You've got to bowl your ball in the appropriate area. And just maybe, like I said, maybe the batting wise, I'm Pakistani. We didn't quite just press the gas, and there wasn't the urgency there that perhaps there should have been. I guarantee that maybe the next time a full member team plays the US, they're going to be a little bit more urgent because they've seen what happens if you aren't urgent. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Pakistan would have gone into this game thinking, okay, it's going to be a tough game, but we're good enough to do this comfortably. Perhaps by the time they realized it wasn't going according to plan, it was a little bit almost too late. So it's like, go in with that sense of urgency.
And I mean, your expertise is fielding, obviously, Julian. But even today, we saw the difference in standard between the USA's fielding and Pakistan's fielding. Pakistan was sloppy with not backing up and just getting to the ball a few times slowly. I mean, what is the problem with Pakistan's fielding? We've seen this over a number of years, Julia. I know it's $1 million question, and I don't think anybody on this earth can answer it, but you're well informed.
You need to have a T-shirt made with that on, because literally that's the same question every time. Again, potentially a lack of urgency. Now, you can only execute the skills that you're capable of doing. You can increase your speed to the ball. You can increase your reaction time. You can pay attention and be ready. Skill execution is one thing. Being prepared and thinking ahead. There were a couple of moments where, perhaps we weren't thinking and we just played cricket rather than being ahead of it and thinking about the situation. There was a nick. I remember seeing there was a nick that went between slip and keeper that nobody moved for.
Yeah, Iftikhar sort of left it, didn't he, Iftikhar Ahmed?
Yeah, I mean, respectfully, if you're in that position and you are slightly wider like he was, dude, you've got to go. Keeper's got to go, and hopefully it gets to one of you. I mean, to have both people sort of pretty much stationary, that's no, that's a no. You've really got when you're in that position, you've got to play soccer goalkeeper and at least slap it down if you can't catch it. That's not good.
And finally, Julian, Azam Khan is the talk of the town at the moment. Where do you hide Azam Khan in the field if they've decided that he has got to play? Today we saw he wasn't wicketkeeper, so he's playing as a batsman. The other day he was playing as a wicketkeeper batsman. Seems to be some muddled and confused thinking. But if he's out there in the outfield, which I'm not sure how much longer he's going to be in this tournament, given his recent batting form, where do you hide him?
Well, I think you and probably your audience will agree that you can't really hide people in a T20. You cannot afford to have anybody who isn't going to at least hit their minimums and do their job. Everybody makes mistakes, but T20 is not a game to hide because batters are so innovative that they will find you. So, the toss up between does his batting outweigh the potential disasters in the field? That's a really tough question, and I mean he's put on a lot of weight since I last met him a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. He seems to be carrying a lot of weight. He will struggle horribly in this heat, playing in Texas, playing in even in New York in the summer. It's hot. Really, really, really hot. and he's gonna struggle fatigue-wise. So, you know, I did see, like I said, he seems to have gained a lot of weight since I saw him. He was pretty big when I knew him, but he seems to have increased in girth dramatically since then. You know, I mean, when I knew him, when I did a little bit of work with him, like you know, I've said this to you before, he has amazing hands and amazing eyes. His hand-to-eye coordination is exceptional. You know, he has amazingly fast hands, but that will only achieve if the ball is in that area that you can do that with, whether it's keeping, fielding, batting. If it's not there and you have to move, that's going to be a problem. You know, I mean, he got a duck today, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like he got just stuck on the crease, didn't move. You know, again, it's that urgency. There has to be an urgency every time you bat, every time you bowl, every time you keep, field. There has to be a level of urgency there that this is, you know, this next ball is the most important ball of your career. You've got to do everything in your power to tick every box and achieve every little ounce of success out of that one ball. And again, it's you know, how serious was he or were they about playing the USA? Maybe, you know, he's played in the USA, so maybe he had the sort of the opinion that, hey, this is just the USA, we can do this pretty easy, no worries. Well, if that was the case, it's come back to bite him.
Well, Julian, thank you very much for your time. Hopefully Pakistan can beat India. Of course they can. And win the other games as well and qualify. And let's take it from there, because at the moment it's not looking too great for Pakistan. But once again, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. Always a pleasure speaking with you.
No worries. It's always good to be with you. Take care.